Tony D and Little Joan just off camera, and this is a screenwriter's rant on Local Band, an indie movie about local bands. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links into this in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 12, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So it's about the struggles of being in a band, local band. I can totally feel this. I wasn't in a band, but I was in an improv group, and we had similar issues. Trying to recognize that skyline. Where is that? Is that Chicago? Maybe? There's a lot of bands in Chicago. Outside of Chicago, I noticed. So they're in a band, and they're struggling. They're demoralized. Some of the band members say they suck. One guy who showed up to the bar to their gig say they suck. There's a line about a guy laughing at him, and then there's lots of footage of other bands that play. And the protagonist, which is the girl here, she just wants to play one decent gig. It's not like she wants to be famous or anything. She just wants to play one decent gig. Here are a bunch of other bands. So I guess they get in some sort of competition or, festival. And I don't know. I guess they play it. They finally have a good gig, and then maybe it's over. It looks like the perfect kind of indie movie in some respects because, it's low budget. You get a bunch of local bands to be in it. A punk rock movie about punk rock. Yeah, I like it. And I kind of like the music in it. Don't know any of the actors. No, don't recognize any of those names, but written and directed by Dan Stewart. So this comes out. The world premiere screening is at the Beat Kitchen, September 3rd, with performances by Superkick and Cut Your Losses, who I assume are in the movie too. Probably more local bands. It's kind of a genius move because now the downside would be a lot of those band guys, they can't act. Or maybe they can, but they probably can't. So you might have a combination of actors who are in bands or maybe actors who pretend they're just good enough to kind of pull it off, but maybe they're supposed to be terrible anyway, so it doesn't matter. But a lot of actors, serious actors, they are multi-talented. I saw a play once where almost every cast member in the play, it was like a musical. They also played instruments and sang. They played multiple instruments and sang. It was very impressive. But I don't know if they have that kind of talent in this movie, but it does look fun. This guy's the dejected one. His body language is like, ugh. I would totally see this. Let's see. How would I break this down by acts? First act, their band. I think it's called Rage. It says there on the drums. They're just struggling. They get a gig. It's terrible. They get basically one guy to show up, and the guy doesn't even like them. And so they're dejected. The band's thinking about breaking up, but she's, she wants to be in a band. It's tough. It's really tough. It was the same thing with improv. Very similar. You're with a group of people. You don't all have the same goals. Some of them are dilettantes. Some of them are serious about it. It's always a struggle. So it's the struggle about being creative, and I'm sure they all have jobs and lives, and it's like, oh, you're not here for rehearsal or whatever. But there's a lot of rewarding stuff too. So I think it's about her quest to get them one real, to play one good gig. So second act, maybe they have to qualify for a gig somehow, and they spend the rest of the movie trying to do that. And then they get into the gig, but just kind of barely, and they have to deal with all the other bands, and they feel intimidated by it, and she's trying to keep the band together so they will be good. They're trying to keep rehearsal together, and that probably is the focus of the struggle. And there's probably a lot of wacky things going on. It doesn't look particularly punk, like, the punk I recognize, like, but, looks fun. This guy looks funny. He looks like the comedian they recruited for this, because he's going to play the jerk in the audience, or maybe they got one of the real local musicians to play that role. That would be a funny reversal, right? The actors are all the musicians, and the one musician is, a non-musician in the movie. Um, but I think it has a lot of potential because, you know, for the audience, I mean, I'm sort of an aberration for the audience. I like punk rock and I like these kinds of movies in general. I would probably go see it just for the music, in some respects. Um, for local people around the age of the cast, this would be something I think they'd be very excited by if they know it exists. That's the real challenge. And if you can get them to come out for it, another challenge too, because they have no money and they're all caught up in the downside of appealing to an audience like in that window, which will be like late teens to, maybe late 20s, is a lot of that audience. They're so caught up in their lives and hooking up and their own bands and their own projects and trying to get their life together. They just miss things. But if you could focus them up long enough, I think they would come out for this. I think it would be, at least an appeal regionally to the band's audiences. And I think it's a good idea. I think it's the sort of movie that, down the road, it's often looked back on, especially if one of the bands becomes famous or, gets a hit song or whatever. And at the very least, you get to hear some cool, interesting music. I hope it would be cool and interesting. So I wish these guys well. I'm going to give them an upvote just for the hell of it. I think the quality seems. Oh, okay. So it is in Chicago. I thought that was the skyline. So here's. Oh, good. You got the whole crew here. Good for you. Featuring, these are the bands: Pink Squeeze, Nora Marks, OK Cool, and Superkick. So I think that's a good strategy. I think this whole movie is a good idea. This is playing on your regional strengths to get people to come out, and hopefully they will. Hopefully they will support the movie. Try to get this in local theaters. Get people to come out to it. Flyer the hell out of all the venues, and hopefully all the bands will pimp it too on their websites, their social media, their gigs. So, and if you're in the Chicago area, yeah, check it out. And I would totally check this out on demand. Absolutely. It probably won't get distribution near me, but maybe it'll be a big hit. I wish you guys well. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more based takes. If you can find a more based take, I say take it. And this is the kind of stuff should be on those other platforms as well. If you haven't put this trailer there, there's a lot of alternative stuff going on those platforms. I'll be back tomorrow with more videos. Thanks for tuning in. Check me out on Saturday at LBI Book Swap for the signing. We'll see you.